How do you? Oh, sorry. How do you pronounce that?
That's a joke. That's a joke. So, my first name is a French name, and my last name is a Polish name. So it should be Joffrey Czarny. So that's why people say SnorkY, because no one is able to pronounce both of them.
Okay, got it. Um, SnorkY is our
Yeah.
next speaker. He is a red team leader at Medallia, security by day, and a security researcher and VoIP hacker at night. He's the ambassador of happiness and healthy living. What do you mean by that?
I like to be away from keyboard, so I run a long distance, so that was it keep me healthy and happy.
Good for you, man. So since 2001, he has been a penetration tester and red teamer who has released advisories and tools on VoIP Cisco products, Active Directory, and SAP. And he has spoken at various security-focused conferences, including Hack.lu, Troopers, IT Underground, Hacktivity, Hack in the Box, SSTIC, Recon, and Black Hat Arsenal. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a warm applause for SnorkY.
Hey guys, so I will try to be short. I know all of us waiting for the party. I try doing something fun, so let's see if you get fun during this presentation. I will share my slides, so there is a lot of content there. You can take pictures, of course, but at the end, I will share the slides, so you should have all the content. So quickly about me, I already said that it's hard to pronounce my first name or my name. So usually people say SnorkY, and unfortunately for me, Google know, or Meta, LinkedIn, everyone know everything about me. So feel free to scan that and you get more details about me, my life, and so on. For the joke, if you use Active Directory, check for Tony Micheli account. Maybe you can find more about me. So today the goal of this presentation is to share my feedback and my experience about phishing attack and how it could be really efficient for the red team activities. I will try to introduce some techniques and tooling that I did to scale a phishing campaign during for red team perspective. And the strategy here is not to get a phishing to get access to on-premise system, but really to target IaaS or SaaS infrastructures and environments. So nowadays, there is a lot of companies that not rely on pure on-premise where you have to get in, make lateral movement, and compromise the Active Directory. A lot of them now use with zero trust model or with what's happening with the COVID, we have a lot of remote position. So all people start to move to the pure SaaS services, and that's where we can make efficiency, or at least as an offensive perspective, we can be efficient when we make phishing against SaaS infrastructures. Short disclaimer, I'm not the original author of the Murena and Necro browser. It has been done by two malefactors, which is Michele Oru and Giuseppe Trotta. They already present the proxy that I use and that we use for this kind of things. Today, I will really focus on the Necro browser part, the automation behind the proxy. If you want to get more details on the proxy, there is a YouTube link there where they present how the proxy works, how we can bypass MFA and so on. So strongly advise you to watch this video. And on my side, yes, I get involved in this project for since 2019. I wrote a couple of documentation and I did the implementation of Necro browser for AWS Lambda functions that I will present. So what's the value add for an attacker when we speak or when we talk about phishing? So phishing is still relevant in 2022, of course. It's an easy way to steal credential, of course. We just need to get this credential and replace this credential in sometimes. Or if you have the MFA, you have to get more deeper. But the problem, you can bypass also MFA. It has been introduced several times with Evil NGX or Murena, we can do that. So depending on how MFA has been implemented, you can get a way to bypass this MFA restriction. Also, we can use phishing for persistence. So the easy way is to add an attachment when you send your email, and you have this wrapper, and they install malicious binary, and you get a persistent or remote access on this laptop. But with a SaaS server, you can also do that. I will introduce you a way to backdoor a GitHub account, and how we can automate that, and how we can get persistent with this GitHub access. You can also do data exfiltration. As I said, with the SaaS, people does not necessarily use on-premise file server. They use file sharing on G Drive, Dropbox, Box, whatever. So if you phish this kind of platform, you can automate your data exfiltration. You can automate you can export all this data in really few minutes. You can do the same with the code repository. If you target GitHub, GitLab, all this code repository, you can automate to clone all the repo and do much more. Of course, we have an issue for the phishing when you have the mindset for an attacker. Nowadays, there is plenty of detection related to about phishing. Users are, at least for some of them, enough aware and report easily phishing. And if you do mass phishing, you can get really detected quickly, and they can try to lock your domain and so on. Password. It should be like underwear. I hope so. We have this comment at the beginning of the conference where we have to wash every day, brush our tooth, and so on. So we also need to change the underwear frequently as a password. But in the fact, I'm not sure if all people do that, unfortunately. We have also this issue with the multi-factor. So depending of which kind of multi-factor you use, it does not allow you to make a password spraying with an MFA, so you can get limited over that part. And there is really an effective MFA today. It's a U2F or web auth, so with a physical token, and with this kind of access, with kind of protection implemented, it can block you for your phishing attempt. The last but not least, it's when you make some automation after your phishing campaign, you never know how much success you will get with this phishing campaign. So the problem, if you don't configure properly your infrastructure, your red team infrastructure, you can screw yourself. That's happening on my side, and that's why I start thinking to make something different. So all these points introduce the work factor. So the work factor is an estimate of effort or time needed by a potential adversary with a specific expertise and resource to overcome protective measure. So it means that all these protections that is in place make the hard life for attacker. But how we can maximize that as an attacker perspective to overcome this measure. So if I think back to the slide, we say that we can get easily detected. But okay, we can get detected, but how long it took for security operation to block our domain? How long it took to really stop the spraying of this phishing campaign? If you automate everything in less than 1 minute, 42 seconds, we get everything that we want. It's too late for them. We already get the data that we're looking for. About the password, password in 2022, is it something we really need to rely only on password? I hope not, because we use MFA. But if I just get one session, one cookie, maybe it's enough for me to replace that and do much more. About the multi-factor, okay, we can just bypass MFA time to times. And if we target an SSO portal, the MFA it's just required once. So when you get logged inside the SSO, but after when you click on all other applications, the MFA is not required anymore. And the last part that where I start to work on this project, it's serverless. So I do some phishing campaign. It was too much successfully for me, and I broke my entire infrastructure because I spin up so much instances, and I don't have enough resources to handle that. So that's why I start to look about serverless compute node and how I can scale easily with the serverless things. So the main idea based on the phishing and automation, it's look like this design. So let's say you target your victim, it's target.com. So you ask to your victim to go to target.com. And in the middle, you have your proxy, which is Murena, and you mimic the domain and you use target.io, for example. That's up to you. Open your imagination to make something close to the domain that you want to target. And all the traffics between the browser and the real target.com go to this proxy. So you can grab the login. You can forward all the two-factor authentication. So let's say they use TOTP or push notification. You can realize that. There is no issue. And when the session is open, Murena just forward all this information, login, so credential, login and password in clear text, the cookie to NecroBrowser. And then NecroBrowser can spin up some other instances, other browser, and automate what you have to do. So NecroBrowser, initially, when we start to work with in 2018 on this topic, it was based on Go. It's written in Go, and we use a CDP library to interface with the Chrome. We moved to CDP to Pwnppeteer, which is a Node.js implementation. So we instrument Chrome or Firefox in headless or in GUI mode, up to you to do that. There is some limitations. So for example, for Chrome, if you want to add some plugin inside Chrome, you have to use the GUI mode, so not the headless one. And based on that, we are able to get more efficient with Pwnppeteer because it's really useful. You can really interact with the browser, so it's really nice to instrument a browser. It's really used for people that make where they qualify the product and make tests or regression tests. They use Pwnppeteer when they do that. On my side, so NecroBrowser can initially be configured on-premise or in an EC2 instance or in cloud providers. What I did on my side, I just move away from compute node. I want to really go away to infrastructures, and I go to serverless. So I use AWS function to do that. I'm still relying on Pwnppeteer, and in order to chain some attacks and some step, I can use step function or not. It's up to you. And to store all the proof of my campaign, when I screenshot some access, when I extract some data, I store all of them in a S3 bucket. The advantage for me to use AWS Lambda function was it's easy to scale. As I said, I just get a one endpoint and everything is, in terms of infrastructure, is managed by AWS. It's cost effective, so at the end, I don't pay much on this AWS Lambda function. So this Lambda can stay there, and I only pay when I get a real session and real things that has been really get pwned, and yeah, they call my Lambda function. And something which is also interesting when you do phishing, time to time you have to avoid geolocation. So with the Lambda function, you can also specify which country you want to deploy your Lambda function. So if you target a US company, you would like to deploy your Lambda function in US. If you target some Asia, you would like to use something based in Asia. So that's why also it's quite interesting to use Lambda function. So now between Murena, which is a proxy, and Pwnppeteer, which is the instrumentation, we have to specify some we have to make some config file to allow them to talk between them. So what we just need to do is to specify the AWS Lambda function endpoint, so the URL of this endpoint, and we also specify which profile we want to use. So we can really customize our data we want to share to NecroBrowser. So I just share one of them for GitHub there. I will do the demo later. And you say, okay, I would like to instrument GitHub. That's the keyword that I would like to look inside the repo. So I look for certificate, VPN, credentials, something like that inside some repo. It should be whatever. You can use token API. You can use a lot of things. I add an SSH key because the purpose of my demo will be to show you how I can add myself an SSH key to backdoor this account. And then if they rotate the password, I still have this SSH key, which allow me to continue to pull the repository. Then you share the cookie, of course, because you have to rely on this cookie to get authenticated on GitHub. One advice, if you play with Murena, be sure that your JSON, the syntax that you use for your JSON is properly set with, because if you miss that, you can get some weird error and it's a little bit hard to debug. So just be sure you get a proper syntax for your JSON. What it looks like when you instrument Pwnppeteer. So that's just a code snippet that from GitHub instrumentation. So first of all, you have to add some modules. So I provide a module to make some simple screenshot. So each time I get an access, I screenshot my access. So I call this module. The second point, it's Chrome on AWS. So it's only available. So it's a package that you can download and you can deploy on AWS. When you got that configured, you specify which, how you want to open a browser, how you set your cookies that you stole previously with Murena. So you load this cookie to this Pwnppeteer instance.
I'm sorry, SnorkY. We have to pause your presentation for our traditional hardcore drink. SnorkY, everyone. All right, all the way down. I really love your, not the presentation.
Yes.
Your, what do you call that? No, how he talks. What's the term?
For what?
How he talks. Yeah, yeah. So, can you read this for us? It's an announcement for our activity in one of our hacking villages.
Of course.
Okay, so this is what we have going on there and by these speakers.
Okay, so right now you have the malware analyze 101, awesome one. This one performed with the awesome people like Louisa Pwnppeteer and Denise Leiko. So two awesome ladies that will teach you how you analyze malware. So feel free to go there and get fun there.
Thank you very much. Very good. SnorkY, everyone. Thank you. Thank you, SnorkY.
You're welcome. So, back to the presentation with some more difficulties with this kind of whiskey, but should be good. So yeah, what I said, you have to set up the cookie that you stole with Murena to this Pwnppeteer instance. You specify that you want to go to redirect to github.com/login. Then when you go there, you go to SSH settings, and you can add, you trick the click. So you click on add key, and then you click on where you can add your SSH key, and you put this SSH key, and yeah, you backdoor easily GitHub account like that. So that's what it looks like. You send a phishing email to someone. You say, okay, you have to go to GitHub. It will be redirected to github.fake. Github.fake redirect him to the real github.com. He specifies his credential. You get this credential in clear text and the cookie. You forward all the stuff to necrobrowser in the Lambda function. This necrobrowser Lambda function say, oh, got it, I get that, it's for GitHub. I spin up a Pwnppeteer instance in Lambda. I open GitHub with this credential, go to the SSH key, add this SSH key, make a screenshot, store this screenshot in this bucket, and that's all. So, too much of said. Let's try to make a demo. By the way, the tool is already open source, so feel free to go there and play with that. I provide some templates. So there is already a lot of templates to play with GitHub and so on. There is also some skeleton where you can automate what you want to do. The SSO one, it's live as a pure pause. And also, I just need to share that part. You can see that there is a lot of, is the last breach, people complain because they get phished, and we have e-crime services where people can rent a phishing campaign from this e-crime. So we don't want necessarily to help this e-crime organization to make bad stuff and make money about that. So everything is there. I will show you in details how you can do that. Feel free to reach out to me, but for sure we will not necessarily share all the payload publicly. So back to okay. Let me open the SSH connection. Okay, I'm good. So first of all, as I say, all the code is already public, so you can go there and you can play it. I will add some content that I shared today, but most of them it's already there. Now, let me show you. So let's say I target these guys. It's a snk-test. Put his password. So get connected on GitHub, no worries, everything's there. If you go to the setting of these guys, and go to the SSH key, for example, you see there is no SSH key, there is nothing. All fine, good. Now, I will run the Marina, so the proxy. So the proxy says that I use a Pwnppeteer domain, and all these kind of things will be redirected to github.com. I skip the fact that I send an email to him, whatever you do, or with the Discord or whatever, you can do a lot of things to mimic that. And at the end, these guys go to your domain. And when you go to your domain, it should be able to reach github.com. So you can see there is no alert. Everything was look like GitHub because it's real GitHub. We just proxify the traffic to GitHub. And these guys start to singing. So now if I back to the Marina, you see that here I assign an ID to these guys because it's one session. So I can track each session. And from the phishing website, I put the same credential. And I'm logging. So I'm logged to GitHub. Everything, it's exactly the same because, as I say, we just proxify things. It's totally transparent for the victim. But if I'm back there on my own Necro browser instances, you can see that I catch in clear text the credential of these guys because, yeah, I proxify the traffic, so I roll his data to the real github.com. And what you can see also somewhere else, yeah, there, you see that the Marina get a full session, so we get a cookie, get everything. So we send the information to the Necro browser to instruments behind this session. So now I will go to my Lambda function on AWS. I will check the log. So I get a new log session there. And they say, oh, you get a session, and it seems that you get a result. So I have a screenshot that written there. So I download the result. And if I look the result, it should be not like that. Okay, interesting. Let me. So the result should be a real screenshot with a SSH key. Something going wrong. Let me check that quickly. So here you see I just followed the page and the SSH has been added. But unfortunately, I don't know why the screenshot does not working. But at least we get the SSH key that has been added automatically behind what I got. So yeah, it's weird. I don't know why I don't get the screenshot, but usually I have the proper screenshot. Maybe it was too fast. So that's an example of how you can use phishing to automate a lot of things and extract data, backdoor, do whatever you want with the phishing. Just not think about stalling credential, but just thinking what you can do after this credential has been stolen. So back to the presentation now. Consider that you now, instead to have this, you see the pictures with GitHub, but consider how it can be powerful if you exploit an SSO portal. From the SSO portal, you can get Login One, Okta, all these kind of providers, and they give you access to plenty of interesting targets. So behind the SSO, you can get Jira, Confluence, GitHub, some email, plenty of good stuff. So you can just chain all this kind of activity and be able to really exploit one entry point and then get for each of them and compromise each of things that you can reach over the SSO portal. So for example, on Okta, you have a list of all these applications. You can easily extract this list with an HTML query or a document get element query, and you can get this list of application, and based on that you can start to automate things. So let me go back to the shell. So just increase a little bit. So as I said, you call for the screenshot, you get the Lambda function, you set up your environment, so you put the cookie, username, and so on. You say, okay, let's open an Okta. And then you say, okay, let's go and grab all the information that I need to, all the applications that I can reach from this user for the Okta session. Then from here, you fetch all the applications that have been reachable. So that's the screenshots that I showed to you previously. And then for each of them, what you can say, I say, okay, in this list of applications, do we have calendar? Okay, if we have calendar, open the browser, click on this link, open calendar, make a screenshot. Let's say, oh, you have a GitHub. Okay, click on GitHub, open it, extract all the repo, make a SSH backdoor, do something else, a token, whatever. So you can automate all the steps that you want based on the list of all the things that you have here. So that's a skeleton that I will share. I will don't make necessary something click and ready, because as I said, I don't want to help e-crime. But if you are a red teamer and you want help to create this skeleton, feel free to reach out to me. And yeah, and basically at the end you make screenshot and so on. So, what you can also do, it's with the Lambda function. I really quickly introduced that before, but you can also use a step function to chain that. So instead to use each time Node.js things to instrument, you can use step function to call your Lambda between the Lambda. So it's also something that you can explore. But yeah, straightforward. Now I have to provide some advice to get effective when you make your phishing, but also how you can limit this kind of attack. So how you can get effective. So you have to make a proper recon phases when you try to make phishing. I mean that to know if a company uses a SSO portal or if a company have a central point to get authentication, what you can do is to go to a lot of let's say, Gmail, Office 360, and try to use a really whatever random at the domain that you target. And usually, if you do that, it will be redirect you directly to the SSO portal that this company use. So that's a good way to detect which kind of SSO portal you want to target. Then feel free to, you have to build a proper pretext to give this user, say, okay, you have to be redirect to the SSO portal. So you can link on the media coverage, marketing, Twitter, press release to say, okay, they work on this topic in this company. So now I will do something that's close to this topic, and I will build my pretext to say, based on this topic, you have to get connected internally to do something else. And there, they know the project. They know that they use this SSO portal, so it seems legit for them, and they can share with more facility or more easily the credential if you do these kind of things. The preparation phases, it's really, really important. So don't make a domain that you acquire a domain and then you just make the phishing campaign. No, take your times. You have to get some history behind this domain because the reputation, it can be checked, so you can be screwed with that. The certification authorities that you use, so if you decide to use Let's Encrypt because it's straightforward to use Let's Encrypt, in some company, they not necessarily trust Let's Encrypt because it's too much easy to get a certificate. So maybe you have to buy another kind of certificate with another certificate authority to get more trust. For the content delivery, use CDN. Or, that's also why I use AWS, because usually people does not block AWS IP ranges. So if you behind AWS IP or if you use a CDN to cover your infrastructures, they get more trust and they not block you for that part. I already shared that, but Lambda function, deploy your Lambda function in somewhere where close to your target. And the post-exploitation phase, the main advice, log everything. So yeah, you see, I tried to make the screenshot. The screenshot failed. So it should work, but in this case it failed, I don't know. So in your campaign it can be also fail, but at least you have the log and you know when it has been done and everything like that. So that's really, really good to do. On the opposite, for the blue team and the security operation, some advice for them. We have to use MFA. Password, it's really, really not enough today. So we have to make a full mutual client authentication, especially token. So I love to use YubiKey for me. It's really a good alternative. It's quite cheap for a company to deploy YubiKey. So that's my main recommendation for them to block phishing. We have to review and rotate API and tokens. So as I showed to you previously, you can backdoor with SSH key. So we can, but also we can also add a token. So all these kind of things should be reviewed, rotate to be sure that each time there is someone that uses a token, it should be rotated and be really well defined. Yeah, you can, with the SSO providers, there is plenty of things that you can do. For example, what you can implement, it's for some sensitive resources, you can ask to reapply a multi-factor authentication. So with the Okta, for example, you have the push notification. So depending of, if you already open an Okta session, you just get just a push notification. So people have to validate that they make a connection to that. So if you do these kind of tricks, it's block all my automation because I could not rely on that and people get a lot of push notifications. So they can be fatigued and they can open one session, but at least it's blocked some automation. The last part, please don't blame the user. The user have to work. They receive plenty of email. They receive a lot of stuff. So and we cannot blame them. We are security engineers, so we have to provide them a proper solution to get secured and to get their job done in the good way. So, of course, if we introduce security, we decrease their the conviviality or the friendly things that they have with the IT stuff, but yeah, it's something that we have to help them and not blame them. That for the presentation. I think I'm on time. If you have any question, feel free to ask. You can use Twitter, this email to reach out to me. You can scan again that and get my contact. So, any question, guys? No question?
Guys, any questions from the crowd?
I'm still have 10 minutes, so
Yeah.
let's say because
We were just so mesmerized by your accent. We actually.
let me just try again.
We still have 10 minutes, guys, if you have questions about the interesting topic.
I will try to just replay and show you that I'm not cheating and you should get a screenshot because it's something that should work.
Oh, you're playing the demo?
Yeah, my demo is not working, so I have to replace that. I have 10 minutes, so yeah. So I just flush all the previous things. Restart Murena. Back there. Reload. Should be good. I got a session. So I got the session. Orchestration was done there. Okay. Here we are. So, as I say, you can screenshot, and that's the screenshot that I took during the automation. So, if you see the key that has been get here, if now I'm back to, I'm lost between my screens there. If I'm reload these pages, I get the key there, which is the key that I add recovery key. So for example, you know, I use recovery key to don't make any malicious activity, to say, yeah, it's a recovery key, and it's look like legit. And if I go to there, yeah, that's the name that I use recovery key there when I do the automation. So yeah, I'm still there for a couple of hours and for the party, as I said. So feel free to reach out to me and just ask some questions if you want more details. Thanks, guys.